Hey, 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 you know what today is. It is yet your two favorite podcast hosts back again for another episode of A Level Up. Hey,
Uh,
Steph, how you doing, girl?
I'm doing good. How are you, Jay?
Girl, I almost didn't see you in all that fatigue. Where you at? Where
No,
you at?
right? I'm in my camo gear.
You either hiding from somebody or you ready for war. Which one?
As a little, well, I'm ready for war with what I'm hiding underneath this hat. How about that?
Well, you look good doing it, girl. You look good doing it. Welcome everybody to another episode of Level Up, where we bring authors and business owners before you to talk about their stories, how they fell in love with their own life stories and decided to share that with you to help you to recognize the power of your own story. I am your host, Jamie Gill, and this is my ace coon, boom coon, Stephanie Reynolds. And we are the face of 220 Publishing, and we're just so honored to be before you yet again. I know you're going to say, I know Jamie's going to say, we have a very special guest today. Well, you're right. We do. And yes, this is someone else that we know personally and we love personally because she's so dope. Like, just being in the room with this woman, like you literally feel like energy and love and light. And I don't know about you, but I need that in my life. And so we had to bring her before you because she is just a wealth of wisdom, and she has so much insight that we definitely think that we all need, honestly, to help us level up in our lives. So, Steph, what we got coming for us today?
So this next guest. I don't know what's going on with me today. I'm all tongue tied, but we gonna work it out. We gonna make it
That's
through.
right. That's right.
um, but this next guest, what again? I know I say this often, but what I love so much about this show is because we have a lot of the work that we do, it's virtual. I don't get to see the faces of a lot of the people that I'm working with for like years. And so when you're seeing them for the first time, a lot of times I'm seeing them for the first time, which is such a cool thing because you get to put a face to the books, the conversations back and forth, and really being able to go on this journey of watching a person's story kind of come to life. So Yanni is one of those authors who we've had a lot of interaction online back and forth with ordering books and the whole publishing journey, but we haven't had a chance to really meet in person. But she's always been so warm and just, again, I say this often, when you're reading someone's book, you really are getting insight into their heart. You're really getting to see who that person is. And she's just always had this warmth and love, and you just like her. It's like, I don't even know you, but I like you. It's something about her that just exudes love. And so she is a well-known self-love, relationship, and intimacy educator. She is passionate about empowering women to love themselves, right? To own all of the things that they need to own to be able to experience the love and the intimacy that they desire. And she just teaches you how to love others and to love yourself, that it comes from the inside out. And so we're so happy to have her on. She's been on Ayana Fix Your Life. She's been on so many different platforms. I'm sure you have seen her over the years doing what she does. And we're so, 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 so happy to have her on the show tonight. Miss Yanni Brown, welcome to Level Up.
Hey,
Hey,
Yanni.
I'm gonna cry. That's it takes me back to like, when you have kids and the parents are away and then they say your kids are like really, really good, well mannered, and you did a really good job. That was that moment for me because I was like, oh, you just never really know how people genuinely feel about you until it's shared. And that was awesome. Thank you. Thank you for that.
Well,
Yeah,
thank you for
truth,
being
girl.
you.
That's the truth. Yeah, Yanni is, we often have this joke within 220 Publishing that, Yanni was the first. You know what I mean? And Yanni paved the way for all of us. at 220 Publishing. She trusted Glenn first to publish her books and her story, and she paved the way for us. And she never like took that in a way of arrogance. Like, she just shared her wealth of experience. And Yanni, you're such a dope woman. I remember meeting you for the first time. 220 had a book conference. We had a book conference, and that's where I first met you face to face. And it was like immediate homegirl. Like, what makes you so lovable? Like, why are you like that, girl? Because that's not most women don't have that.
I want to say I get it from my mother. I cannot tell a lie. She said, if you're going to do a thing, be the best at it, but always stay humble in what you do, because in a blink of an eye, it could all be gone. And when she said it, she was talking about all the things can all be gone. So I try to remember, like I shared in a book, my journey is connected to somebody else's journey. And the moment you feel like you're higher than, then you're no longer connecting to the people that you have this journey that you're sharing it with. And, I never try to say I know all the things, but I'm openly willing to share the things that I do know, because it helps another woman or another relationship connect that much better to something that they're probably already going through, but don't know how to articulate it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. There are a lot of titles that are attached to you, and one of my favorites is intimacy educator.
Yes.
Because it's so scholarly and it's so naughty all at the same time, right?
Yeah.
How did we get on this path, Yanni? How did we get on this path of becoming an intimacy educator?
Okay, so oddly enough, it started in high school. Which is
Doesn't it always?
I'm gonna let you finish the story, because
you know how you have lunch in the lunchroom.
Mm-hmm.
So since I had already had sex at such an early age in the lunchroom, people would always ask me questions. And so it just kind of started there, and it really never stopped. And when I tell you, I ran from it, because I was like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to be this. I don't want to be the person that people go to for this. And, when you're single, you definitely don't want to be the person that people go to for this. So I was like, I don't want to do this. But the more I ran, the more it came back to me full circle, the more gratification I got, goosebumps from hearing about people's, happy stories and how they got over kind of stories. So I want to say it started in high school. I kid you not. And just from there, it's just been one thing after another. And clients end up becoming friends and or family, and it's just been crazy like that ever since.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Why do you feel that it's intimacy? And I use that word specifically because what you do is not just teaching women or couples about sex, but this is truly about intimacy. I remember there was a wine crawl that we did. It was called something about the senses. Like, it was like the 5 senses. Indulge Your Senses wine crawl, and Miss Yanni Brown was the tour guide. So we had taste, touch, smell, feel, like all of your senses, hearing, it was complete. And I mean this in the most appropriate way. It was stimulation on every realm. And the way that Yanni is able to teach about the reality of human connection is literally something to see. Like, I remember the one couple that was blindfolded and they were feeding each other. Let's talk to the audience today about what intimacy is and why it's important.
It's more important now than ever, especially with AI and online dating and everything else but physical touch, human touch, connection, the art of connecting with one another physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. All that's kind of taken a back seat because everything else is so in our faces and in the forefront. And so this idea came to me when I saw that. My background is market research. So I get to see in real time how it affects people who don't have a relationship with each other, or who have kids and the kids grow up and move out, and then they're struggling to figure out who they are to each other, or us as women not loving each other or owning our pleasure or being taught you matter and what's important to you should be important to others and setting boundaries. All of that to me is intimacy with yourself and others. And that can be, your relationship with yourself, your connection with yourself, how you greet, meet, and or receive others. And then once you have a mate, how do you put that thing together on a consistent basis? Because, once we meet each other, even in our friendships, even in church, you go to church and it's like, oh, I'm here for the Lord. And you're just on this high because you're new to the church, or you're on this high because you have this really cool friend that you just met, or you're in this relationship and it's new and it's exciting. And that's that high, right? But what keeps you together is that intimacy. What keeps you connected is that connection. What keeps you together is that heartstring, that communication, that real, that rawness, that I'm not feeling you today. I love you, but I don't like you, and not be judged for it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm
That's
teaching
what I.
women. Go ahead.
No, no, no. I'm sorry to cut you off. Go ahead, Yanni.
And I'm trying to share with women, especially now more than ever, now that I'm a little bit older and I kind of see things on the backside. I'm seeing how important now more than ever it is in real time that not only should you set boundaries, because there's a lot of boundaries out there right now, but you also should have your heart open.
Mm-hmm.
You should have your heart open to love. And even if you lose, you've loved. And what did you learn? And you take that thing to the next thing until you meet the ultimate thing that's there for you. And a lot of us, we've been hurt so much that we don't want to experience that again. So we run from any and everything that looks like love. And it's like, yeah, but you can't do that. You can't do that in your sister friend relationships. You can't do that in your familial relationships. And you can't do it in your relationships with your partners, because we're not meant to be alone, no matter how much society tried to tell us it's okay.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what I love so much about what you are, about your books, about what you're doing, because I know like the salacious part is like, oh, it's sex, and all of that part. But more so, it's really about one, like you said, connection, right? And building healthy relationships from the inside out. And then also just that part of healing. And I think you touched a little bit on it, but just understanding like how to heal from the barriers that keep us from connecting on an authentic, real, deep level, you
Yes.
know? And so talk a little bit about that, because before, we even get to the other part, the other side of the coin, it's like first we have to understand what we're kind of working through, the issues of our own heart. So talk a little bit about what that journey looks like and how important it is for women specifically to have that healing, to have that understanding of who they are, what they want, and then ultimately how they can love better.
I think a lot of it starts with how we were raised and how love was defined, whether it was through our parents, through our experiences. And for me, I'll even go as far as to say what I saw on TV. And so, I thought my life was going to be like the Brady Bunch, or, the other shows that I saw on TV.
Mm-hmm.
And the reality is that that's not how it was. I was raised by a mom and a stepdad. And I thought, that the man was going to be the provider as such that he should be. But what you experience is something altogether different, and what you equate love to be. And I remember, and I'll talk about this in the book, anything that looked like love, I was on it like a dust mop, like, woo, love, woo, love. It's so, yeah, I want it, because ultimately, whether we want to admit it or not, we all want to love and be loved. So I
Yeah.
think the challenge has been for us, whether it's men, women, whatever, we aren't willing to deal with what needs for us to heal.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of us don't want to get up close and personal. So that's why we make the same relationship mistakes over and over and over again, because we don't want to stop and say, okay, well, how did I contribute to the demise of this relationship? What was
Mm-hmm.
my role in it? What did I learn about me from it? And then move forward with those boundaries, those precautions, and those things, those tools that you need to go to the next thing. And I remember vividly, I looked in the mirror and all the men were the same. The woman was the same.
Mm,
It was
Mm.
person, different faces.
mhm,
And one day I just decided, and I tell this story in the book, I talk about how I dated somebody who had somebody because I knew the truth. And that person couldn't lie to me or hurt me because in my mind, I knew
mm,
the truth. But ultimately, it was a bad decision. I ended up seeing them in a way that I had never seen them before. And I had the ugly snot going home. Like, I
mm,
just want somebody to love me. And I was standing in the mirror naked and I was like, what is it that I need to do? And he said, I want you to love you.
mm,
And that that was like, that broke me down because you know how you pray for a thing, and I think a lot of people miss this. We pray for a thing,
mhm,
but we really don't know what all has to be moved,
mm,
removed, repositioned, or just flat taken out in order to give you the very thing that you prayed for. And sometimes we pray for a healthy relationship. Well, if you're not in a healthy relationship, what do you think is going to happen to that relationship?
mm.
So
Yeah.
it was things like
True.
that that just kind of forced me to look at me, all of me, and say, okay, well, what are you going to do? You can't keep doing this because if you keep doing this, then you're going to keep getting that. So I think a lot of times the answer to the question is we don't want to see self and we don't want to really, really heal, if I could be honest, because a
Mm,
lot of times we just want the pity party to carry on
mhm,
so that we have something to whine about or complain about or not fix
Yeah.
because it's easier to stay in that space. But once you really want to heal, then you're willing to look at those things and say, okay, well, what do I need to do for me? Because it really is about you.
yeah.
You know, growing up, my grandmother and mother used to tell me all the time that there's a difference between straightening up and cleaning up.
Mm.
That you can straighten up, but when you clean it up, you got to move the toaster and wipe behind it, and you got to move the stuff on the counter. Like that's the difference. Do you think that we really understand what love is? Just and I understand I'm not. You can't speak for everybody on the planet, but just at a core level, based off your professional experience working with clients, do you think that either A, that we know what love is, or B, do you think we really know what we want? Like when people say, I want this, do you think that we really understand it, what we want?
I think we believe that we know what we want. And then, truth be told, if we get the very thing that we asked for, is it still going to be sustainable for the long run? Like I see people make lists all the time. He has to be
Yeah.
6'2". She needs to go
I
to
made a
the
couple.
and the reality is this. You may want somebody that makes six figures, but you have to understand that that means that there's not going to be a whole lot of quality time
Mm,
because he got to make those six figures or she got to make those six figures. So are you willing to give up some quality time to get those six figures? And I'm not saying we have to be on the struggle bus, but I'm saying what you want has to line up with what you're going to get ultimately. And I
Yeah.
think a lot of times we are taught what our standards are, but that doesn't mean that that's who your man or your woman is ultimately going to be for you. You know,
yeah.
he may
Yeah.
three. She may, be not may work at McDonald's, but she's going to treat you like a king,
Mhm,
Yeah.
or he may not be the tallest man in the world, but you're going to feel like he's 6 foot tall because of the way he treats you
Hmm.
and the way
mhm,
that he honors you. And I
mm,
think that's what we're missing a lot in relationships. It's like, yeah, we all want a thing. We all want God fearing men, but we go to the God fearing men and then they got 4 or 5 different women. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
they're fearing God.
Yeah.
That's what you said you wanted.
Eh,
But I got
that's
4 or
right.
5 women. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I think logistically we say we want a thing, but I think also as we get older and we experience life a little bit too, what we want shifts as well.
yeah.
It
And I
made
think
your
that
last description just made me think of. I'm sorry, Steph.
that's
I
right.
just
Uh-huh.
a quick funny. I didn't date a tall man till I was, I think, almost 30.
Okay.
And I remember a friend of mine saying, Jamie, how come all your boyfriends are shorter than you? I said, because I'm not gonna put God in the box, and if a man treat me right and he's shorter than me, and he looked at me dead in my face and said, it's okay to ask God for a tall man.
Mhm. It
and
is.
and it was just that small little moment that I was like, because in my heart at that time, I thought that was just being so like too picky, too, and that's why I kind of asked the question: do you think as humans we even realize what we want? But I was so afraid to ask God that because I thought it was so trivial, like height was trivial, like his character matters. I'm not gonna dare put God in a box, and so I'm 5'10", walking around here dating men 5'5", 5'4".
Hey, ain't nothing wrong with being 5'4",
It
okay?
is
Shout,
nothing wrong with
shout
that.
out, shout out to the short men out there in the world. There's love out there for you too.
No,
Go
but
ahead,
I
Steph.
think that is so good because, or that's where the self understanding yourself, that's why it's so important, and doing the self work first, because a lot of times we jump into relationships feet first, and we don't really even know who we are. I talk to like my niece and different ones, I'm TT to everybody,
Mhm,
and
mhm.
on some level it makes me feel like it reminds me that I'm no longer the young one, because now the young
Mhm.
ones are calling me TT. But I'm like, as long as I'm not auntie yet, I'll do TT, but I'm not auntie yet. I'm not auntie yet. But anyway, when they're talking to me about relationships, and I'm like, and I'm always telling them, you have to know you first, because a lot of the mistakes, like to even really understand what you want, to even understand that, hey, I want a tall man, you have to understand what you're willing to accept, what you want, what makes you feel a certain way, what you deserve, or what you are even looking for. And so what does that journey look like for, say there's a woman who's watching, and now, like the whole dating thing, and you know you have all these different experts who's talking about if you're high worth, low worth, all these different things that are kind of categorizing people
Lord,
into what they should have,
high
what they
value
should
woman.
high value, all of the things, right? We have all of these kind of cliches now, but on a very real, authentic level, like what does it look like to do the self work? What does it look like to really go on a journey to love yourself from the inside out before you look for somebody else to define that for you?
That looks like a breakdown and put back together, in all honesty. Because when you look at you, I'm talking past the makeup, past the flaws, past the mistakes, past the grace that you should have given yourself, but maybe you didn't, past the feeling guilty about this person or that person, past all of that. Once you take off all those layers and you peel back all those layers, all you have is you. And I say that you can lie to people all the time to make them believe a thing about you. But when you're standing flat footed, naked in a mirror, you can't lie to you. All you can do is say, put me back together the way I am desired to be put back together, or the way that I deserve to be put back together. And that comes with the challenges that most people aren't ready to deal with, because healing doesn't, it's not pretty. Putting yourself back together is not pretty. It's the loss of friendships. It's the loss of relationships. It's the loss of family ships. It's the disconnect from things that you thought were part of who you are and make up who you are. And it's the letting go of all of that. It's the shedding of the skin so that you can walk in the new skin of who you are ultimately destined to be. And most people aren't ready for that.
Yeah.
But when you do, oh, baby, when you do, and that new man or new woman shows up, they're showing up authentically. They're not, and it's funny because if you look at, and if you ask people in a dating session, well, why wasn't this person attracted to you? Because your new you is saying, I don't want to be bothered with that. Your
Mhm.
energy is saying, I don't want that. I'm not interested in that. So when you're walking in this newer version of you, what you were attracted to is no longer attracted to you.
Hmm.
So you find, if you want to go where those new people are, where your new skin is, so to speak, then you're going to have to level up. See what I did there?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. We like it.
We like it.
We like
Doing so,
it.
in doing so, it
Yeah.
requires more of you, even when you don't think you have more to give.
Talking to Yanni is always, I feel like I'm in surgery. Like I'm trying to talk to her for y'all, but it's like I just feel like cut.
But
No,
most
no.
of the time, when I'm talking to other people, I promise you I'll be talking to me.
Yeah, but that's what I
I've been,
love about it. You know, we're at the age, and yes, young people, there is a time where you want this, like you want the surgery, you want the cuts, because you want to always say that the greatest gift I could give somebody is the best version of myself, and so I want to always show up as the best version of Jamie. I'm at a retreat right now with cancer survivors, and one of the, it's been so, like, it's traumatizing that we're all here because we've had cancer or currently have cancer for some of them, but the bond is the trauma, right? We have this trauma bond, but the beautiful thing is that we get it, right? We get what each other's going through. But what I love about it is that it's not a time away for us to wallow. That it's like, okay, so what are you doing? So what can you do better? What are, what treatments are you taking? Have you considered this one? Like, there are those pieces that we're brave enough, and almost arrogant enough to be like, have you considered this? And I think that when I hear you talk, that's what I love about you, is that you're the type of girlfriend that's not gonna let your girlfriend settle. Like,
Right.
no, girl.
like,
Like, this man ain't took you out on a date in 10 years and you still together. Why?
and it's more of a, not even that, is, well, what do you want?
Yes.
Because I'm big on asking, what do you want? Because if you haven't figured it out, doesn't mean, it means nothing for me to say, girl, he hasn't take you out on a date. What are you doing? Because, and believe it or not, that was a question I had to ask myself some time ago. Like, what are you doing? This isn't what you want. It feels good, but this isn't what you want. And I take it back to the word joy. You know, on this self journey and self discovery, because that's what it is. It's like you're discovering things about you that you didn't know existed, or layers of you that you didn't know were like, oh, this is exciting about me. I'm this. I'm the bomb. I'm those things. That's all attributed back to finding your joy. And a lot of us don't know what that is because we haven't taken the time. And I go back to the movie Runaway Bride with Julia Roberts.
Yes.
And every suitor that she had, everybody that she was engaged to, she liked the eggs that they liked. Never once taken the time to figure out how she liked her own eggs. So one of the things I'm going to say to you is figure out how you like your eggs. You need to date you. You need to fall in love with you. You need to understand fully what brings you joy. Because the person that enters into your life is only going to complement that. And you spoke earlier about dating. And once you find your joy, then dating becomes less about what that other person has and more about what can we share in together. Now, I'm not saying date somebody below your standards. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm saying the person that you date or ultimately becomes like a partner for you becomes just that, a partner. Somebody that you can go with, grow with, go down the middle of the road with, somebody that you can support their fronts, their backs, their sides, and their middles. Like, all those things are important. And somebody that you can laugh with. Because, you know, as much as I teach about sex and intimacy, at some point as we get older, all that stuff is going to go right out the window. He's not going to be able to get an erection anymore. You're going to go through menopause, and you may go through your own challenges. Can I cuddle with you? Can we hold hands and still love each other and look at each other the way we did when we first met, even though the sex is not there? That's the joy in love. And that's how you know what love really and truly is. Love is giving and taking while simultaneously giving and taking. And a lot of us are takers.
Say that again slowly for the people in the back.
Love is about giving and taking while simultaneously giving and taking.
Giving and taking.
You know, you're never going to be at 100%. Sometimes you may be 50, sometimes you may be 70, sometimes you may be 80, and your partner pulls up and brings up the rear with the other part. But you have to find somebody that is willing to bring up the rear, willing to bring up the deficit. And the unfortunate thing about now with this, I need to be gratified instantaneously. This society is no one's willing to bring up the rear.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
True. Do you believe that there's somebody for everybody?
Absolutely. Absolutely. But the thing about there's somebody for everybody, it 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 becomes not what you thought and not the package you thought it was going to come in.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like there is a man somewhere saying, "See, it was not my fault." like it was not me.
At the same vision, Steph.
But I think that's so important because just as women, sometimes we blame the guys for being these bad people when it wasn't that they were a bad guy. It's just that our expectations of them was unrealistic based off of what we actually needed. A lot of times we didn't say what we needed, we didn't know what we needed, we
Yes.
weren't able to be what they needed, so there was a
Yes.
lot of things that are happening, but it's so easy to say all men are dogs or he's this or he's that. And I think that this puts everybody on an
Level playing
even
field.
playing field, that we
Yes,
all
ma'am.
have a responsibility in this. We all have to take some accountability in how these relationships work. So, how do men respond to this when you go to these different, when you have these
Yeah.
different engagements?
Surprisingly, they start off, of course, with the animosity of she doesn't know what she's talking about. She
Mhm,
doesn't know me. I'm different, or I'm this, or I'm that. And the way that I break it down is just like I'm breaking it down in casual conversation, because
mhm,
it really is about numbers and showing you or painting a picture of what is versus what you see. And, I get a lot of things like, well, she cheated on me and da 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 da. Okay, but what did you do to get to that point? And I'm not blaming an excuse for any type of cheating. I'm saying, what did or didn't you do? What conversations did you have leading up to? And a lot of times we're not honest with ourselves and with our partners about what we see and what we say. Because we see a lot
Yeah.
of stuff, but we don't say a lot of things. We go into relationships being everybody's everything, knowing that that's impossible for you to sustain. Impossible. Because you can't be everybody's everything. And then once you get past the honeymoon phase, now you're slacking off. Well, if you were swinging from the chandeliers from the beginning, I need you to continue to swing from the chandeliers. And I remember in the dating process, I said, who you meet today is who I will be 10 years from now. And that ran a lot of men away. But that didn't make me feel away. That just said, okay, that person's not ready. And at this point in my life, and any other woman who knows what she wants and more of what she doesn't want, is okay with the runners. You're
mhm.
going to put it all on the table from, the get-go. And then from there, you're going to say, okay, well, now we can assess the situation, because that's what dating is. You gather information and then you assess the situation, and then you gather more information and then you assess the situation. And at any point in the dating process, you can say, you know what, this isn't for me. And you can walk away. But a lot of us don't want to do that, because by the time we rush to date, rush to fall in love, rush to have sex, we now realize we are dating a person that we don't even like or
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
It makes me think about the movie Waiting to Exhale and the Leela Rashawn
Yes.
character when she's in there with the short guy and he was like, tell me what you want, tell me what you need. And she got real arrogant. Well, I want a man with a house in the Hamptons or wherever it was. He was like, I have a house in the Hamptons, because she didn't communicate. She had all of these expectations living up here, right? And she just knew because of his packaging that he was not going to be it. And not only did he meet him, but he could be the stuff that she
That she thought she wanted,
wanted,
that she thought
Mhm.
that
she
she
wanted.
thought she
Yeah.
wanted,
Yeah.
right? And then once there was an exchange between them, it almost kind of changed, his confidence a little bit. And so then it affected their work relationship. And then she was like, forget him, because now she recognized that the playing field was level, Steph, right? And why do you think that as women, for so many years, let's talk about this. I was having a conversation with some male friends of mine about almost the tragedy of growing up in the generation that we did, of all the women who's independent and, I'll bust your windows out your car. Like we grew up with this strong Black woman. um let's talk a little bit about the dangers of that. I had a woman say yesterday, we were just joking. She was like, I don't need a man. I said, watch your mouth. And she was like, no, I said, I'm just saying, words are
Have power.
power.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
said, you want a man, but you just said you don't need a man. So you're literally telling the universe, do not bring a man to me. And we got into this huge conversation. So let's talk about that a little bit, about the difference of or the dangers of being so independent that
Alpha women.
yes, I hate that term.
So funny you should bring that up.
I hate it.
I would say I'm gonna say it nice, but I'm not. We are that because somewhere someone has failed us one too many times.
Mm,
I'm gonna be there, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna help you with that, and then didn't show up. So the default mechanism was, I don't need a man. But that's the armor. I don't need a man is genuinely the armor. Because what I know about a man and a man's man is that when a man shows up, all that armor slowly but surely begins to chip off. But
absolutely.
in that, he has to be consistent
Mhm.
because we've been failed. And somebody asked me this, a man asked me this, and I said, we got it from somewhere.
Mhm.
We didn't just wake up like this, because let me tell you, I'm tired. I would love to know what soft girl looks like.
Era feels like, yes,
Not even
ma'am.
I just want to know what a soft girl feels like. I want to know what having someone show up in your life and be all the things. I would love that. I live in North Carolina now, so
Mhm.
these Southern men, listen, they show up and just pay for all the things and just be having the women, and I'm like, wow, this is different. This is very very different. But it comes from somewhere. And if more men held the other men accountable for the nonsense that they see other men doing with women, then we would feel safer. And in our safety, we can become the soft women that we were designed to be. Now, I'm not saying push over. I'm not saying I'm going to stay home and cook all the meals and all those other things, but I can lay in the bosom of your chest and say everything is going to be okay, even if I'm going to be the one fixing it tomorrow. You understand what I'm saying? So
Yes.
it's
Yes.
one of those things of, we've all been conditioned, and it's through media. So back before social media, it was magazines and it was
That's
commercials.
true.
And, she's out buying the Maytag and she got the refrigerator and the stove and she's cooking and she has dinner done by 6 and he comes home at 8 smoking 99 cigarettes, and this is their life. And then you
Yeah.
position that into taking it a step further in the African American household. The only way she can get money on welfare is if the man is not in the picture. So now the man's not in
Yeah.
the picture. So now we don't have the father figure. So it's so many different societal things that's telling us who we are, right?
Yeah.
I think the more we discover who we are and whose we are, then we can get back to some good loving.
Yeah. How do we break the cycle, Yanni? Right? Because I feel like there is this kind of cyclical revolving door of, the
Negativity.
absent man hurts the wife, that hurts the woman, and then the woman now becomes, bitter. And so now her next relationship, she's doing crazy stuff, and then the man doesn't want to deal with her and he's hurt. And there's just this constant cycle of absentee man, bitter, woman, and then they have children and now broken homes, and the cycle just continues to kind of repeat itself. How do we break the cycle so that we're no longer perpetuating these ideas of what relationships are based off of all of these broken and dysfunctional and just hurting kind of situations that we continue to find ourselves in?
I think we have to, one, start with choosing.
Mm-hmm.
We have to choose to turn off the TV where they're fighting about my man, my man, my man.
Mm-hmm.
Because the narrative now is negative energy sells. I've
Mm-hmm.
been wanting a talk show for years, but because I'm telling you things that I'm telling you here, that doesn't sell. Drama sells.
Mm-hmm.
Throwing cocktails across the table sells.
Yeah.
Not healing sells. Rap music with guns sell. So until we choose better and understand that it's all cap,
Mm-hmm. Right.
because if you look at other races, they're not doing this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know
At
what I
least not
mean?
on
They got the
TV.
wholesome shows over there.
Right.
No,
Right.
Yeah.
they got the wholesome shows on TV.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now,
Yeah.
you
That's
still
true.
got other cultures that are out here cutting up too, but I'm
Mm-hmm.
not talking about them. I'm talking about us right now.
Right.
And with us,
Yeah.
we have to do better, demand better, and choose better.
Yeah.
And it starts with a real conversation. It starts with, I know you're hurting and you might want to be catty, but I'm going to love on you anyway.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
And until we are ready to for real do that and put down the facades, because the facades right now are running rampant of who we think we should be and who we're pretending to be. And I'm like, that's not what you're gonna get over here. You're gonna get, yeah, I'm in debt up to my ear lobes, but I'm not asking you to pay my bills. I'm asking you to love me.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
You
Right.
know, and in return, I'm going to love you. And I went back once, maybe twice, maybe 3, 4, 5 times. But I often, because I talk to all my exes.
Mhm.
So randomly we have these conversations about relationships and what is it, the expectation, and what's in your marriage and what's in your relationship and why did you fall in love and ultimately marry. And I got some amazing answers from these men about healthy relationships and learning from their past mistakes with me or whomever and healing from that and then positioning themselves to be better men for their wives. I think
Yeah.
that there has to be some accountability. Like there's all these men running around here about the high value this and the women too, because I'm not just gonna blame it on the men, but
Yeah.
no, looking at it from a realistic standpoint of once you take off this mask and once you take off this facade, you're just this person that wants to be loved. And I
Yeah.
really do believe that until we get back to that part, we're not going to do any better. I say all the time, if you want to love like you've never been hurt, you're going to have to love like you've never been hurt.
Wow. Wow. I've been watching and this is not a dig at him at all. Shout out to Country Wayne. But the Country Wayne skits are the new like the it on Facebook, and um it's funny to admit my mother is a huge fan of them, so much so that she kept talking to me about these people like they were real people. I was like, Mom, what are you talking about? Well, Amber, because Amber's our girl and we rooting for Amber and Shayla. And I'm like, who are these people? So much so that I started watching them just to know what my mother was talking to me about. And the skits, you're right, are full of drama. They're full of everybody has dated everybody in some way or another, and best friend slept with her best friend husband, had a baby. Like it's toxic. Like there's nothing healthy in any. But I said the saddest part to me was not that he was making these skits, but that these skits are reflecting real life.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's
Like
why he's
this is
making those skits. When I tell
Right.
you Country Wayne is a marketing genius,
Yes, he
yes,
is.
he
a
is.
marketing genius. All the mini movies that you're starting to see, like on your TikToks and things like that,
Mm-hmm.
he was doing that years ago. So,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
and I can guarantee you that's not reflective of his real life.
No.
You know what I mean? So
No.
we're quick
Yeah.
to portray this negative image, but that is so not our real life. And I think the balance is you have this and you say this is for entertainment because we do want to be entertained, but over here I'm living this life. I definitely think there needs to be some serious balance because people think that this, what do you call it, the reality life
Yeah.
is
The
real
reality
life,
TV life.
and
Yeah.
it's not.
Mm-hmm.
I remember in my chauffeur life, I carried around some housewives and I took them like on a mini tour. They had to go to these stores to promote the new Housewives show. Don't ask me which one it was because I don't know. And when I tell you they had the facade going, they had this person was this person, this person was this person, and they carried on who these people are on TV. And then when I went to go pick them up, they had been partying all night and they looked an absolute mess the next day. But I said all of that to say that they were carried on this facade so heavy, so tough, that it's like, okay, well, when you take off the wigs and the makeup, who are you? And if you don't know, as my mama say, you're gonna go out the world backwards.
Yeah. That's
Because when you get old, hear me well.
Because you're going to.
Because you're going, God willing, you're going to.
Yeah.
Do you have somebody by your side, friend, lover, partner, whatever? Do you have someone that's going to care about you, that's going to come see about you, that's going to give you your medication and or take you to your doctor's appointment?
Yeah.
And I know it's crazy to think about that because, you know, when you're young, you don't think about stuff like that. But the way that we're living now, in a blink of an eye, you could be paralyzed from the neck down.
It's true.
That's very, very
It's
true.
true.
And then what will you have? And I don't think we're asking these questions of what will you have? And then let's be clear. Because of I have daughters. So because we have what we have, if we don't get away from what we are into, we're not going to know what hurt looks like because we're not trying any relationships to have hurt. We're not going to date physical people. We're going to date online and never ever meet this person. And now we're just having these relationships where you don't physically see or touch each other. It's a bunch of foolishness out here.
Yeah.
And I pray that it shifts. I pray that it shifts, and I pray that it shifts before it's too late.
Yeah. You know what I love so much about you, Yanni, as I'm listening to you? I love that at the end of the day, you make it so clear that this thing is less about it's less about the woman and the man on kind of like these polarizing opposite sides. And it's more about everybody being accountable for who they are and not just what somebody else is going to be to them, but who they're willing and able and have the capacity to be to someone else. And I think that's where, that's where that line, we finally cross over, that separating line that is not just about what you're going to give to me. And I think to your point, in this world, it's all about what are they going to do for me? How are they going to make me feel? What are they going to do to, get me to where I want to be? As opposed to how do we do this together? How do we get to be love, like your book is, making love better together? That we both have a role to play in this, and that it's just as important for me to bring my best self to the table. And I can't expect you to do it if I'm not willing to do it, And so,
or if I don't know what it looks like. Like if
I don't,
if I go into a relationship and I don't know what I want, then I'm going to run into somebody that wants to give me anything that they want me to have. And I won't know the difference that it's not good for me because I haven't decided what's good for me.
Yes.
And then by the time you figure it out, the damage has been done.
Damage has been done, and you married with 4 kids.
Yeah.
And I think that we have to kill the stigma that there is something wrong with you if you're single. Right? Sometimes that there is a reality that you're not ready to be in a relationship, that you're figuring it out, or that you're healing. I think I've always been concerned for myself as well as others who would end a relationship and jump into another one. Like you have no time to have even figured out what just happened.
What went wrong?
That's just like like jumping out of a moving car into another moving car. Like you can't get your footing, your seatbelt still on. It's about to choke you, but you're trying to jump into another vehicle going in the opposite direction.
Let me just take that a step further medically. You haven't even sealed the deal on making sure you're STI free. Because we still need to go
Let's
there.
Talk about it. That's right.
We still need to go there, and they're still here. They didn't go away.
That's right.
So, we just these life-changing things that we're just jumping into for lust or gratification or a quick this or a quick that. And I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with that if that's what you are choosing to do. But I do know that those things also have consequences.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because a new moment of pleasure is not going to erase the pain that your heart is feeling.
No, listen, I can't tell you how many times I've cried after a great love-making session. It was great, but that still didn't stop the emptiness or the loneliness.
That's
You know what
right.
I mean?
That's right.
And that's
right.
for real. And I can only imagine how many other women are like, this was great, but I'm still lonely.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
Yes,
I'm still
that's true.
empty.
Another major component of this show, Yanni, is about speaking about life purpose, and I often think about your sweet mom, right? And when she realized that her daughter was an intimacy educator, I think about that song. Tonight is the night.
From Millie Jackson.
and she and she says, "I know you're not gonna sing that song."
You know, I
Was
believe.
that your mother?
No, ma'am. So, and I tell this story all the time because my mother and I had. She was not my friend. She was my mother until I turned probably 23. And then she became my friend. And I remember her asking me, I started having sex at 13. That's no secret. And we used to go to the laundromat every Sunday. This was before she started going to church. Every Sunday about 6 or 7 o'clock. And she would say, I'm going to have you regulated, which was what they called putting you on birth control back then. And she said, and I want to catch you before you start having sex. And then she said, or am I too late? And I kid you not, I felt like I was being punked before punked was a thing. Because she asked me, how was it? And I was like, how was what? She said, the sex. How was it? And then she dropped some knowledge on me that day at 13 that did not resonate with me until I was 30 something. Yes. Right. So she's never been that kind of mother. She was always, you can come to me and tell me anything. And baby, when I tell you I've bent over many days, like, mama, look at this. Or mama, can you tell me what this is? So the relationship was always there. And I remember when she got saved and started going to church and I started selling adult novelty toys, she was one of the first group of people that I did the adult novelty toys with. And I asked her, was I going to hell? Because, you know, that was always the question. Am I going to hell? When I came out, I asked her, was I going to hell? Like, that was always, because I felt like she was the closest person to God. And she knew the answer. So I was like, am I going to hell because I'm a lesbian? Or am I going to hell because I'm selling toys and talking about sex? And she was like, no, people need you. In whatever capacity that you're in, people need you. Because what you have, they don't always get. I cannot tell you how much you've taught me about sex, and I'm your mother.
Wow. And I brought that question and that statement up because I want people to recognize that they're, for the lack of a better word, the only word, your calling may not be the norm. It may not be a doctor or, a nurse or a police officer or an attorney. It may be in another field where there is a need. And if you think about it, and the only way for us to learn and to be educated properly are those that have the experience. And I don't just mean from the bedrooms, but through their study, through their research, through their education, that they have the knowledge to help us navigate better. So that way we can build better communities, better individuals, better families, better, churches, better countries, because we have done the work by having, I think that we don't take enough time to talk about and spend time with mentors like we used to. And I'm not talking about everybody because I understand that those have, but that mentoring and having someone that you go to talk about these things is so very important, because every couple's not going to go to an intimacy educator, or every woman's not going to admit that there's something wrong with her. She's gonna go to her toxic girlfriend to get her advice. But that's why we do this show. As they're scrolling, as they're wandering in life, we want them to be able to have access to individuals like you, to be able to help them to choose better, so that they can do better, be better, and live better. For sure.
You know, I
Yeah.
started selling adult novelty toys for that reason. I
Really.
knew I was never going to get rich with selling toys because that was never my passion, believe it or not.
Mm-hmm.
But it was a way for me to get in the door, to
Mm-hmm.
talk to you about vaginal health, to talk about why using your Kegel muscles in your 20s and your 30s will help you in your 50s or your 40s. I talked about your pleasure and how your orgasms matter. And I put it all under the guise of, I'm going to sell you some toys. But that was never ultimately what I was in it for, which was why people would be like, oh, you're going to take notes at her sessions. You're going to take notes at her sessions. And then I just navigated to the next point of, okay, well, now we're going to do workshops. But it was never my intent to sell toys. Great. I definitely want to sell them if you're buying. But if I didn't, then I walked away knowing that they learned something today about themselves, their bodies, their pleasure, and their partners.
Yeah.
I
As
love
a
that.
married Jesus girl, right, who is a bona fide Jesus girl, church girl, all the things, right? I think this is something that we don't necessarily talk enough about, even just as a married woman,
Yes.
right? It's something that you either, you talk about in joking, or
You
it's
should
just
just know.
taboo, or it's based off of, your premarital, excursions, activities, or whatever. But
Not excursions.
I think I think it's important, though, as married women, as Jesus girls, like we still have to be able to understand how, because that part does matter in our marriage. My husband
Absolutely.
doesn't stop being a man just because we've now gotten married and have kids, and I don't stop being a woman, and we don't stop having the same needs and desires that we would have if we were single. So I think that even just from that perspective, regardless on how you feel about the specifics of it, it's something that we have to talk about, because a lot of marriages explode because the sex is not what one or both of the partners needed, expected. Before we got married, we
Mhm.
was doing all the things, and now we get married, and even just, I think, as a believer, right? Because it's like, you was that before you love God, and now that you love God and we married, you can't
Oh,
all of a sudden, this
Listen.
is something we can't do. So
let us
And
pray.
that is
right.
why I curated the workshop that I did,
Mm-hmm.
because I felt like that's what was missing. So I have a what every bride needs to know before saying I do. I
Mm-hmm.
have a workshop series called Awakening Your Pleasure, and it's getting up close and personal with your lady bits. And they every workshop comes with a homework assignment, whether it's that or that one. I have a bedroom audit where I literally not physically come to your bedroom, but I walk through your bedroom and talk to you about what you need to take out of it in order to bring back the passion that you once had in your bedroom. Video games is a no in the bedroom. You know, pads, phones, they all need to go in a basket at a certain time in the bedroom, because that takes over the bedroom.
Mm-hmm.
But hearing your partner say that is very different than hearing someone like me say, okay, well, how much time do you spend on that pad before you actually go to sleep? And did you touch your husband or your wife anytime before that? Now you're
Mm-hmm.
thinking different. When was the last time you touched your wife or your husband? And then I'll say something like, okay, you don't help him put on his tie, but then some woman at the job is complimenting him on his tie. And now he's going tie shopping, and now you pissed because he's going tie shopping, but you never complimented
That's
him on his
real
tie.
talk.
So once
That's good.
that way, now y'all like, okay, well, it's 9:30. Put these pads and phones, let's put all this in the box. Let's go to bed. And
Yeah.
then
That's
I'll
good.
out wearing the do-rags to bed. There's nothing wrong with it, but every now and again, men are visual. Show him something that he can taste, touch, feel with all his five senses, and vice versa. Sometimes you may want him to come in the room with a pair of Timberlands on and a tank top, singing "Tell Me What You Want." But if you don't ever have realistic conversations about it and how to open a door, then you're not going to get there. And I'm also a fan of, discussing what's changed about you and how can I please you with the changes that have occurred.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
That's real
Wow.
too.
That's
Yeah.
real. That I was talking to some of the singles we were talking about after our surgeries with cancer, like that some of our hesitations and quite honestly fears that we will be able to find lifelong partners in this new skin that we're in, and seeing ourselves first as more than just patients, and then now having to present yourself to someone that will accept all that you've been through without pity, but seeing you as beautiful, and those are the things, because that's real life. Cancer happens, amputations happen. You have people that I've been watching. I don't know what's going on with my algorithm, but I've been seeing a lot of couples that where they are multi-abled, where one of them has lost a limb, and or has become handicapped in some way, or differently able, as I like to say, differently able, and how the dynamics of their relationship are like. That's real life, not the Fendi's and the red bottoms and the getting flown out, and like that can be a reality. But what happens when, as you were on the plane, something happened and now you got one leg? Like now what?
But that's very real.
Mm-hmm.
I've
Yes.
never been so comfortable being naked in all of my life. And I know it's some lumps and rolls there. I know it's a fupa there, but honey, if you want it, you're gonna love it.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, that's very, very true.
Yeah. Well, Yanni, this is one of those conversations that could go on forever and ever and ever and ever, because it's like with with everything that you say, there's 15 other thoughts that pop up and questions and all of that. So, how do we hear more? How do we connect with you? What do you have coming up? I saw that you have an event coming up soon. Tell the people how they can connect with you and be able to get more information on this whole intimacy and love education.
Cool. Across all my platforms, I am Making Love Better, and that's BETTR. My website is YanniBrown.com or MakingLoveBetterTogether.com. It takes you to the same place. And there you will get to see what I'm doing, workshops, videos, snippets, pretty much everything of who I am is on my social media platforms as well as my website. I'm easygoing. I'm pretty reachable in terms of DMs and things like that. And I tend to give away more than I should in terms of information that I should be getting paid for. But that's where I am, and that's where you can find me.
Yanni, we love you, and we are so appreciative for the gift that you are to the earth. You are such a magnificent woman, and I pray that God gives you a double portion of what you give to individuals as well as couples, because every time I'm around you, I walk away feeling like a better woman, just because you are so authentic, you are so loving, you are so gracious. And I'm so appreciative. Continue to be honest and continue to move in that same level of humble confidence, because you are helping to heal people. And I know that we will have better relationships and individuals in our communities because Yanni Brown exists. I
Yay.
love you with the depths of my soul. Please come back to the show again and again and again and again, and stay in touch. We will definitely tell our listeners and viewers about what you always have going on. All
Thank
right,
you.
y'all. Y'all should love each other. You love yourself a little bit more just because Yanni was here. And if
Absolutely.
not, then you need to go buy all her books so that you can.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Go buy all of them. Go buy all of them. All right, y'all. This has been another hot one, literally. And so make sure you like, subscribe, and follow, because we have more amazing people coming forth. But until next time, make sure you are always leveling up. Good night.
Good night.
Night.